Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 12, Devotional Service. Arjuna Vacha Evam Satta Yukta Ye Bhakta Swam Paryupasate Ye Chapi Aksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama.
Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Vesha Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Pariyopeta Ste Me Yukta Tamamata.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect.
Yetav Aksharam Anirdesham Avyaktam Paryupasate Sarvatra Gama Chintyam Cha Kutastham Achalam Dhruvam Sanniyamendryagramam Sarvatra Samabuddhaya Te Prapnuvanti Mameva Sarvabhuta Hiterata.
But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconvincible, unchanging, fixed, and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me.
क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहावधिभिरवाप्यते.
For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the supreme advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परा अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषाम् अहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्यु संसार सागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मयि अवेशिता चेतसाम्.
But those who worship me giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me. Having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death.
मयि एवामना अधत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवासिष्यसि मयि एव अतः ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः.
Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt.
अथा चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यास योगेन ततो माम् इच्छापतुं धनञ्जय.
My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
अभ्यासेऽपि समर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिम् अवाप्स्यसि.
If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
अथेतद अपि असक्तोऽसि कर्तुमद्योगमाश्रिता सर्वकर्मा फलात्यागं तथा कुरु यथात्मवान्.
If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated.
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्म फलात्यागात् त्यागस्यान्ते अनन्तरम्.
If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind.
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रे करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारा समदुःखा सुखा क्षमी संतुष्टो सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चया मयि अर्पिता मनोबुद्धिः यो मद्भक्ता समे प्रिया.
One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me.
यस्मान्नो द्विजते लोको लोकानो द्विजते च या हर्षामर्षाभयोद्वेगे मुक्तो यासा च मे प्रिया.
He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equiposed in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me.
अनेपेक्षा शुचे दक्षा उदासीनो गता व्यथा सर्वारंभा परित्यागी यो मद्भक्ता समे प्रिया.
My devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving from result, is very dear to me.
यो न हर्ष्यति न द्वेष्यति न सोचति न कांक्षति शुभाशुभा परित्यागी भक्तिमान या समे प्रिया.
One who is neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me.
समाशत्रु च मित्रे च तथा मान प्रमाणयो शीतोष्णा सुख दुखेषु समासंगा विवर्जिता तुल्या निंदा स्तुति मौनी संतुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेता स्थिरामति भक्तिमान में प्रियो नरा.
One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equiposed in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me.
ये तु धर्मामृतम् इदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धाधाना मत्परमा भक्तास्ते अतीव मे प्रिया.
Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of devotional service. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the wonderful recitation of chapter 12. So, of course, we will now be continuing with our discussion on chapter 12. Yesterday, obviously, we went through text 1, and today we'll be looking at text 2. So I will just share my presentation and we can start. Hare Krishna. One second. Yeah, okay. So, as I said, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 2, which is all about the theme is being fixed on Krishna's personal form. So we'll go through the Sanskrit first. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Veshya Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayo Petas Teme Yukta Tamamataha. Sorry, I forgot the Mangalacharan, so we will go through the Mangalacharan and then we will continue the verse. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so just repeat the verse one more time. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Veshamano Yemam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayo Petas Teme Yukta Tamamataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect." So then we'll go through the purport, sort of one section at a time. So in the first part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that in answer to Arjuna's question, Krishna clearly says that he who concentrates upon his personal form and who worships him with faith and devotion is to be considered most perfect in yoga. So just to remind us of the situation, just to recap, Prabhupada is saying this verse is in answer to Arjuna's question in the previous verse. So if we just go back, the previous verse in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that those who worship the Supreme Lord directly by devotional service are called personists, and those who engage themselves in meditation on the impersonal Brahman are called impersonalists. Arjuna is here questioning which position is better. There are different ways to realize the absolute truth, but Krishna indicates in this chapter that bhakti yoga, or devotional service to him, is the highest of all. It is the most direct, and it is the easiest means for association with the Godhead. So Prabhupada is saying this is in answer to Arjuna's question. So what was his question, which we looked at yesterday? That basically, which is better, personist or impersonist? Which is superior? Or which is the highest form of worship of the Lord? So we can see Prabhupada is saying in this purport that we looked at yesterday that there are different ways to realize the absolute truth, but ultimately, of all these different ways, bhakti yoga, devotional service, is the highest. And why is that? There's two reasons given here. That is the most direct, because we are directly approaching Krishna. We're not going to the impersonal Brahman, the Brahma Jyoti, or the stage after that to the Paramatma, but we're going directly straight to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, which we understand out of these three aspects of the absolute truth, the highest, or the most, you could say, the most complete manifestation of the absolute truth, or the highest understanding of the absolute truth, is Bhagavan, the personal form. So devotional service goes directly to that. Devotional service is to Bhagavan, is to Krishna. So it's the most direct. And here also it's the easiest, that we don't have to go through. We describe when we talk about the Bhagavad Gita, this yoga ladder, and how we go through different sort of stages in our spiritual journey, eventually reaching bhakti yoga. And there's so many different aspects, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, so many different paths. But ultimately, this is all leading to bhakti yoga. So if we take, instead of going step by step, we just take the elevator of bhakti yoga and we go straight up. So in that sense, it's the easiest and the quickest. Okay, so therefore, Prabhupada says in today's purport that the most perfect in yoga is the one that focuses on the personal form and worships him with faith and devotion. Sometimes, we approach the Lord in different ways. We may worship him in different ways. We may worship out of fear, and then going beyond that. So yeah, we have people say some religious people say I'm a God-fearing person, I'm a God-fearing man. So that's kind of like a beginner stage, the out of fear. Then beyond that, people worship God out of duty. They feel that this is just my duty, this is just my this is because of my religion, I'm meant to worship, so I just worship, or whatever, I've just been told to worship, so therefore I worship. We approach the Lord in different ways, worship him in different ways, but ultimately we want to go beyond these stages and go to the point of love, devotion. That's the highest way that we can worship the Lord. And when we worship the Lord in that way, when we approach the Lord in that way, then we can really experience that loving relationship that we have with the Lord, with Krishna. And ultimately, that's what it's all about, connecting with Krishna, that relationship with Krishna, which is yoga. Yoga means to connect, to join. And this is the way that we can, the best way we can connect to Krishna is bhakti yoga. So then just to explain a bit more about this impersonal and personal. So I was actually listening to a lecture from Srila Prabhupada this morning, and it wasn't planned, but he just happened to be talking about this personalist and impersonalist. So I thought, obviously, this must be Krishna's arrangement that, you know, I have to give a class on this first, and now I'm hearing Prabhupada talk about impersonalism, personalism. So I felt this is a sign that I should, you know, put this in the PowerPoint presentation. So so this is a lecture given in Tokyo on 2nd of May, 1972. And Srila Prabhupada says, he's referring to impersonalists, how they kind of, they're fixed on saying, no, in the scriptures, in the Upanishads, in the Vedas, it says this, it says about no form. But then Prabhupada explains that this, you know, so if we just read his word, he says that because in Upanishad, the negation of the material form, therefore it is described in an impersonal form. So this Prabhupada is saying that these descriptions that are given in the Upanishads is negating this material form. It's to say that Krishna doesn't have a material form. So that's why it's described in the material form of the Lord is described in this impersonal way. So Prabhupada is saying these nonsense, they are sticking to that impersonal form. Impersonal, there is no form. Really, Veda says, Apani Pada Javano Grahita. Shvetashvata Upanishad 3:18. The Supreme Absolute Truth has no legs, has no hands, but he accepts whatever you offer. Now, how he accepts, he has no hand, then how he accepts? But they have no brain. They have no brain. When it is said that he has no hand, it is said that he has no hand like you. When he says that he has no leg, it means he has no leg like you. And if he has no hand, then how Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya parayachati tadaham ashnami bhakti paritam. Bhagavad Gita 9:26. I accept them. If he is far away, within Goloka Vrindavan, Goloko eva nivasatya kilatma, Brahma Samhita 5:37. But he has got such a hand, although he is living in Goloka Vrindavan, far, far away, he will immediately, whatever you offer, he will take. So here Prabhupada is making it clear that when it says in the scriptures that he has no form, it means no material form, but he still has a form, but this form is spiritual, it is personal. And as we know, it's Sachidananda Vigraha, this form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. That is the form of the Lord, the personal form of the Lord, but he still has a form. So then, continuing today's purport, Prabhupada says that for one in such Krishna consciousness, there are no material activities because everything is done for Krishna. So before we were talking about, you know, material form, spiritual form, and this same kind of principle applies here when it comes to activities as well. That, you know, like we're told, you know, not to accrue karma. You know, we're told not to act in. We're told to act in, you know, in the Bhagavad Gita, to act in such a way that we don't incur any karma. But it doesn't mean that we don't act at all, that we don't do any activities. It means we don't do any material activities. We still act, but our activities are spiritual. And Prabhupada says so many times, it's the same activities that we do, the same activities that a materialistic person does, we also do, the devotees also do, but it's all for Krishna. So, yeah, so there's no material form, there's a spiritual form. There's no material activities, but there is spiritual activities. So that's the only difference. It's just changing the reason we're doing it from selfish reasons to doing it for Krishna. And that's all is needed, you know, to change something from material to spiritual. And this is Krishna's mercy, because as I said, we're doing the same activities, but we hear Krishna, he can change the material into spiritual, he can change the spiritual into material. just like we hear this point with regards to the deities as well, that it seems like a material elements which have made up this deity, but actually it's spiritual, and that is Krishna's mercy. So by Krishna's mercy, what seems to be material becomes spiritual. So then, continuing, Prabhupada says that a pure devotee is constantly engaged. So again, this point that it's not that we're not doing any activities, and not just that, we're constantly doing activities. So Prabhupada says sometimes he chants, sometimes he hears or reads books about Krishna, or sometimes he cooks prasadam or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for Krishna, or sometimes he washes the temple or the dishes. Whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to Krishna. So here you can see there's so many. Prabhupada just gives very few examples, but there's so many different things that we can do, as we know. In devotional service, there's variety. In spiritual life, there's so much variety. So Prabhupada always says, it's not that everything's same. In spiritual world, it's all full of variety, because that's where the pleasure comes from. That's where the enjoyment comes from. That's what Krishna enjoys. The variety of rasas, this variety of enjoyment. So in Krishna consciousness, there is so much variety, so many different things we can get involved with according to our nature. So this point about being constantly engaged, so basically doing things for Krishna 24 hours a day, Prabhupada is saying that such action is in full samadhi. So we know that the yogis, they're trying to aim for, the highest stage of the meditation is called samadhi. That is the highest stage where they're just fully absorbed. But Prabhupada is saying that full samadhi, the real samadhi, is not to be just sitting there and meditating, but the real samadhi is to be absorbed in Krishna's service all the time. When we are fully absorbed in Krishna's service, then we are fully absorbed in Krishna. So that is the real samadhi. So just to mention a bit more about this point of absorption of samadhi, there's another beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:2-37. Shrinvan grinan samsmarayamscha chintayan namani rupani cha mangalani te kriyasu yastrak charnaravindayo avishta chetana bhavaya kalpate. Even while engaged in various activities, devotees whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet and who constantly hear, chant, contemplate, and cause others to remember your transcendental names and forms are always on the transcendental platform, and thus they can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's the same point that while engaged in so many different activities, the devotee is fixed on Krishna, on Krishna's lotus feet, and therefore they're always on this transcendental platform, or this samadhi on Krishna. And it's also, Prabhupada will explain in the purport, it also relates to book distribution. And so I included this for obvious reasons, but in the purport, Prabhupada says, one should engage in practical service to the Lord. In our Krishna consciousness movement, all our activities are concentrated upon distributing Krishna literature. This is very important. One may approach any person and induce him to read Krishna literature so that in the future he also may become a devotee. Such activities are recommended in this verse. Kriyasu yastrak charnaravindayoho. Such activities will always remind the devotees of the Lord's lotus feet. By fully concentrating on distributing books for Krishna, one is fully absorbed in Krishna. This is samadhi. So I highlighted this final point because it's very important, it's very powerful that, as I said, this samadhi is not just to sit and meditate in one place, but if one is fully concentrated on distributing books for Krishna, then one is fully absorbed in Krishna. So Prabhupada is basically saying this is the real samadhi. This is the kind of samadhi that the devotees aim for, just to be fully absorbed in Krishna. Okay, so yeah, so also Prabhupada is saying, so we're approaching people and inducing them to read Krishna literature. Why? So they can also become devotees. So we've all, somehow or other, we become fortunate enough to become devotees or practicing devotees through the mercy of Krishna, through Krishna's devotees, and probably for many of us by coming across Srila Prabhupada's books. So in some way or other, we become fortunate enough to become devotees. But we can't stop there. If we're following Srila Prabhupada's footsteps, then we have to also follow in the take on the same kind of mood, the compassionate mood of Srila Prabhupada, that it's not enough for us to become devotees in isolation and that's it. But no, we should feel that, I found this incredible thing. I've got the best thing. This Krishna consciousness is the greatest gift. So let me give this to other people so that they can also get the same gift, so that they all can also be similarly fortunate. It's just incredible how fortunate we are due to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that we've been given this opportunity to develop the highest thing. What is the highest thing? Pure love of God and pure devotional service to God. We have this opportunity to develop that, but we should also try and give that to others as well. So then, okay, so we're saying to that we should focus on distributing books, or if not, we can help others to distribute books. We may not be on the front line actually doing the book distribution, but even if we can't do that, there's other things we can do to help in the background, or other ways that we can help for books to be distributed. So Divanam Prabhu just asked me to share a bit about those different things. So one thing that we can do, so we have this year and we had last year as well, different packs of books, and specifically we have one pack of books called the Dharma pack. And you can see in the picture that there's 7 different books there. And basically, this is an opportunity for us to spread this message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as far and wide as we can. And the link is there, krishnatemple.com/Dharma pack. And we can go on there and sponsor one or more of these packs, just sponsorship, and then these books will be placed in certain places. They will be distributed. But so even if we feel I can't do book distribution, or for whatever reason, we can maybe at least sponsor some books that will then go out. So that is the Dharma pack. And then there's also something called Shastra Dhan. So again, this is all about sponsoring Srila Prabhupada's books so that they can be given to those who cannot afford it themselves. So as it says here, they could be placed in various places, for example, villages, libraries, schools, colleges, universities, like that. And this year it says that we also hope to send Bhagavad Gitas to countries such as Ukraine, South Africa, and India. So again, the sponsorship link is here, krishnatemple.com/Shastra-Dan. And so these are 2 different initiatives that we can get involved with. Other ways we can get involved with, so devotees are going out, as far as I know, every day or many days during the marathon for door-to-door book distribution. So if we feel like or if we don't feel like we can do books on the streets, you know, in the town centers or wherever, we can try door-to-door book distribution and, you know, go out in a group. And in that way, because devotees tend to go out in groups, and it's very sort of encouraging and inspiring that you're going out with other devotees. And in some ways, some devotees will say that door-to-door can actually be easier than book distribution on the streets, because you already have a captive audience. At least if they do open the door, you already have a captive audience. You don't have to worry about, I have to approach this person, I have to think of what will I say and all like this. How will I approach the person? But they're already there. You know, if they open the door, then they're already there, you know, in front of you. So there's that kind of, that initial stage is taken out. So in that sense, it could be even easier. So we can try that. Or, you know, we can have, well, there is a book table every day at the manor as well, so we can also get involved with that. Again, we may feel that is easier for us. Again, we don't have to approach, the book table is there, people see the books, they come, and then we can talk to them. So that's there as well. And, you know, we can get in to find out more about these things. You know, can get in touch with, you know, the devotees who are kind of managing these various initiatives. We have Divyanand Prabhu, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu, various devotees that we can get in touch with. So yeah, these are a few things that we can do. Otherwise, we can also, we mentioned these two different ways of sponsorship, but we can also encourage family and friends to try and get sponsorships, you know. So one thing is, you know, we can do it if we, you know, if we have capacity, you know, we can sponsor books, and we can also try and see if our family and friends would like to sponsor books. That's the second thing. But as is mentioned here, a third thing could be encouraging our family and friends to then go out themselves, and not go out, but try and find others, actually get sponsorships for this as well. So it's just kind of like passing it on and giving, you know, more and more people the opportunity to, in a sense, become book distributors themselves. So this is, you know, incredible opportunity. Okay, so we do have reading of our family business to end the session. But just before that, one more announcement that Divyanand Prabhu asked me to mention is tomorrow there's a, obviously, as we know, it's Gita Jayanti tomorrow, Saturday the 3rd, and there is a World Gita Day special event where we can immerse ourselves in the Bhagavad Gita and also distribute the Bhagavad Gita. So this is actually, just to give you some details, this is taking place at the Sri Krishna Haveli at the manor. So tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., there will be recitation of chapters 7 to 12 of the Gita. And there's a note here that you can maybe recite the first 6 chapters at home, because as I said, then in the event they'll be covering chapters 7 to 12. And then 1 p.m. Ekadashi Prasadam, followed by 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. book distribution in Watford. So yeah, this is another thing that we can get involved with tomorrow. And obviously getting involved with trying to distribute Bhagavad Gitas on Gita Jayanti, you know, is extra special service, an extra special thing that we can do for Gita Jayanti. Okay, so that's the announcements. So generally we'll do the announcements after the reading, but we've done it before. So now we will end with, just for about 10 minutes, or a few minutes, we will be doing reading of Vaisheshika Prabhu's book, Our Family Business. So we won't have it on screen, but I'll be reading. So yeah, just please listen. So just a few pages we'll be looking at. So this is, we are continuing from where we finished yesterday. This is a section called My New Home. So we'll just read through this. My mother dropped me off for my first visit to the San Francisco temple at 455 Valencia Street, where I met Janakinath Das, an outwardly dour but sweet-hearted devotee who sat quietly chanting on his japa beads as he leaned casually on the front steps of the temple. Unsure of the etiquette, I greeted him with a Hare Krishna and asked if I could meet the Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Naively, I had assumed he'd be there, but Janakinath Das summarily informed me that ISKCON was an international society and that Srila Prabhupada had to travel all over the world to maintain it and was presently in India. When he saw my disappointment, however, he quickly added that Srila Prabhupada's association could be perfectly had by reading his books. Janakinath's answer satisfied me because to some degree I had already perceived this for myself. I happily followed him into the fragrant atmosphere of the San Francisco temple, which was soon to become my home. I found out that my homecoming experience was not unique. Sharing stories with the devotees who had joined the temple before me, I found that they all had stories about receiving Srila Prabhupada's books. Apparently, we had all heard the same clarion call. One devotee who soon would become my fast friend and mentor, Keshav Bharati Das, now Keshav Bharati Das Goswami, had been searching for God through study and meditation when his landlady brought a Sri Ishopanishad and a Back to Godhead magazine to his door, leaving them with him because she had no interest but thought he might. A few days later, his wife Lynn, the late Golini Devi Dasi, returned from vacation with a copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is, she had found in a used bookstore in central Mexico. Neither his landlord nor his wife knew the contents of the books, nor had they any idea that they had gifted him with books by the same author. Keshav Bharati Das, then Kenneth Beck, also had no idea. He had put both books in a bag, unaware of the coincidence, and taken them the next evening to the gas station where he was working the midnight shift to make ends meet. On his break, just before sunrise, he took out both books to examine them. Incredulous, he at once noticed that they were from the same author. His eyes filled with tears, and he was soon weeping, certain that God had answered his prayers and intervened to show him the way to reach him. A few days later, he jumped into his Volkswagen van with his childhood friend Clint and hurried off to find the San Francisco temple. Inconceivably, Srila Prabhupada had just arrived, and that very evening, Ken found himself sitting in front of his Divine Grace at an evening program. His material life was finished. Ask any assembly of devotees how they came to Krishna consciousness, and you will hear a montage of similarly miraculous sagas, each one precipitated by contact with Srila Prabhupada's books. Next section is God reveals himself through scripture. The reason for such miracles is that God appears in the form of literature. The Vedic scriptures confirm this truth. The Brahma Sutra 113 says that God reveals himself through scripture, Shastra Yonitvat, and Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.40 declares itself a direct incarnation of Krishna. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam. This scripture named Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God. Just as Krishna makes his divine appearance in forms made of marble, wood, and paint, he similarly descends as an incarnation in paper and ink. The author Ved Vyas is described as an empowered incarnation of Krishna because he wrote down the eternal Vedic knowledge. Srila Prabhupada's labor of love. The enormous effort Srila Prabhupada and his followers made to get that back to Godhead to my door was gradually disclosed to me. It was through an intense labor of pure devotion, empowered by the order of his spiritual master, that Srila Prabhupada caused these beautiful incarnations of the Lord to appear in the various languages of the world. Then, as a master conductor directs an orchestra. Srila Prabhupada inspired his young followers to illustrate, edit, publish, and distribute more than 50 million copies of the 80 books he had written in little more than a decade. He needed editors, and editors appeared. He needed Sanskritists, and they emerged. He encouraged fledgling artists, and they flourished. Young people, unfamiliar with publishing, shipping, warehousing, or sales, found themselves managing millions of dollars worth of books and seeing to their distribution. All of this arranged by his divine grace after he had reached his 70th year. Srila Prabhupada had begun to write in earnest as early as 1944, publishing and distributing his single sheet Back to Godhead leaflets. After finally retiring from his business and family life in 1954, moving to the Vamshi Gopalji temple at Vrindavan's Keshi Ghat in 1956, and accepting the Renounced Order of Life in 1959, he had conceived of his multi-volume presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam. He traveled to and from Delhi, beginning the work on his magnum opus in the Chippiwada district in Delhi, where he had been given a room at a Radha Krishna temple by an acquaintance, Krishna Pandit. In 1962, he moved into his tiny quarters at the famous Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, where he would reside for 3 years, publishing and distributing Back to Godhead, and preparing his Srimad Bhagavatam purports and a series of other writings. There, he incubated his plan to carry out the request his spiritual master had made of him, that he write and preach in English and take Krishna consciousness to the West. The final section for today, print books. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's request was not new, for book printing and distribution has always been the family business of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote over 100 books, and before him, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, had published hundreds of books. In fact, most great Vaishnava spiritual masters have made literary contributions. Mahaprabhu himself had rediscovered and then with his own hand distributed copies of Sri Brahma Samhita and Sri Krishna Karnamrita to his closest disciples. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, to highlight the prominence of literature in his Gaudiya Math mission, included an image of the printing press in its logo, and often preached that distributing books was better than building opulent temples. Passing on the tradition of the previous great teachers of pure devotional service, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur personally told our Srila Prabhupada that if he ever got money, he should print books. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu ki jai. Okay, so that was the reading of our family business, which we will continue tomorrow. So before we finish, does anyone have any questions or comments on, anything that we discussed, or any questions regarding the announcement? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nikhil Prabhu. Thank you very much for your reading and giving the class. Wonderful. Actually, the book distribution is wonderful, wonderful experience. I've had many, many years of book distribution. At the moment, my health is not so good. I can't really walk very much, but I will, in the temple, I will go in the book table and recite Bhagavad Gita tomorrow. But all these years, until before COVID, my health was so good, and we used to go every evening. We used to go and knock the door, and it's just wonderful experience.
Yeah. So
many people take the books, and you don't even think that they will take the book, but they will get so enthused. One day I remember I went to one lady, and it's a foreigner, and And they said, she, please come in, it's very cold. She would close the door and come in.
Yeah.
And then she would say, what have you got? We would give all the books. And he said, yes, I live in Australia now. And so what I have the experience. So she took all the books we had.
Wow.
And gave so much donation. It's just, sometimes you think whether they will take the book or not, but they take more than, like that. And one year I remember I went to one of the houses, and at the beginning they were very cool, they wouldn't be interested. And, they're Jewish people, the husband and wife was there. And they said, so what religion are you teaching? Are you giving out? So I said, we are not Muslim, we are not Hindu. Actually, we are beyond that. And he was so happy. He said, I've never heard anybody speak like that. And he was so enthused. First of all, we just gave him a set of book, and whatever donation he gave £5. And then when we passed on to one house, I had another devotee with me, and then for a few hours later, and then he started running with another £20 notes. He says, I want to give you more. It is such a wonderful way,
Yeah.
That was amazing, different experience you had, so nice, so nice. I miss that. I'm going to miss that this year, because my health is not so good, but I'll be definitely going to the temple and do whatever I can do. It's really wonderful to give out Srila Prabhupada's book. It's just wonderful.
Jai, wow, amazing. Thank you for sharing those Sankirtan stories. Very, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah. There's so much incredible experiences to be had on the streets, so much magical moments. I'm sure many of others have also experienced these kind of things as well. So does anyone else have any other things to add, any questions? Or do any of the are there any other announcements that need to be made before we finish? Then also we can do that as well. Okay, if no one has anything, then we will stop here, and of course we will continue with chapter 12 tomorrow. So thank you everyone so much for coming, for taking the time to hear from Bhagavad Gita, from Srila Prabhupada, from the Acharyas. Okay, so Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu
Devcha patitanam pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
namaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for nice.
Thank you very much. Wonderful
Thank you,
class.
Prabhuji. Thank you, devotee.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.